The power of a predator to paralyze its victim with a roar would be a deadly weapon. Animal sound expert Liz von Muggenthaler believes tigers have that ability, and she's about to put her theory to the test. Liz will play a series of unidentified animal sounds to a random audience and ask them to record their feelings. One of the sounds will be the infrasonic tiger's roar.
Okay, is everyone ready for sound one? This is sound number 2.
This is the tiger infrasound. Liz has removed all the audible frequencies from the roar, so the audience hears only the speaker rumble.
All right, this is sound number 4. Okay, what we're going to do is ask you to raise your hands as we go along, and I mentioned the different types of emotions you may have felt. This is sound number 2.
Tiger infrasound.
How many of you said it makes me scared?
95% of the group felt anxious or scared.
It made me worried. Almost like a danger was approaching.
I associated that with being in probably danger.
I felt threatened.
I don't think I've ever had a study where the answers were that clear, that obvious, smack you in the face obvious, that the tiger's roar and the infrasound really, it scared people.
Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the electrode cap on, and what it does is it has electrodes that measure your brain waves.
But something more amazing is about to happen. Psychologist Jennifer Vendemia from the University of South Carolina is conducting a unique experiment. For the first time, science hopes to see how the silent infrasonic tiger's roar acts on the brain.
We're going to be testing, first, does infrasound affect the brain? And secondly, does it actually access a fear system of some sort or another? And so it's going to let us know how fast is it getting to that fight or flight system. And so it's going to be a really unique study for that purpose.
Absolutely.
Liz is going to project the inaudible infrasound of a tiger's aggressive roar directly at Rebecca. And Jennifer will use an EEG scan to monitor the response of Rebecca's brainwaves.
Rebecca, are you ready?
Yes. 1 and 2 and 3 and go.
Rebecca hears only the rumble of the speaker. She has no idea what she's really listening to.
We're actually looking at the moment-by-moment changes in waveforms over the surface of the scalp. And so this is going to be fantastic, something really interesting. I don't think anybody's ever done it.
The test results must be analyzed before they'll know if humans are actually hardwired to fear infrasound. Other new evidence is also emerging linking infrasound with fear. British scientists are studying connections between infrasound and the paranormal. Strange, unexplained events which have left people anxious and fearful. Beneath Edinburgh's busy streets is an underground alleyway called Mary King's Close, a time capsule dating back to medieval times. It was at the heart of a plague outbreak in the 1600s, and over centuries many have lived and died here. The close is now open to tourists, but it's also the scene of strange events, attracting the attention of modern-day ghostbusters like parapsychologists Kieran O'Keefe and Steve Parsons.
Mary King's Close is reputedly haunted. There are a number of physical experiences that people have had, which include sensing a drop in temperature, related to a sense of presence, also maybe feeling as though they're being touched.
Every now and again you can feel that there is a very definite change down here. You feel that, and I can't quite describe it, it's just something in the atmosphere that feels a bit thicker, something feels quite different. And we've had members of the public have very strange experiences as well. I've had fully grown men walk into certain rooms and burst into tears.
When people come into a place like this, they're highly suggestible. They know they're coming into a reputedly haunted place. Also, it looks very, very spooky.
Small amounts of infrasound can be present in many ordinary buildings. But Kieran and Steve want to investigate if there are significantly high levels here at Mary King's Close.
People have reported a lot of unusual phenomena at Mary King's Close, many of which may be associated with environmental infrasound. This system allows us to measure that and test that idea.
Our most common sighting is of a little girl called Annie. She died from the plague. She'd been abandoned by her mother. She had a little doll and she'd lost it. And we get a lot of people who think they feel something in the room that she's meant to haunt.
What we do know for certain is that most people can't hear infrasound, so they're not aware of it. But it does have effects on some people. It can make them feel anxious. It can make them feel disorientated, nervous.
Sound is great for haunted house movies. I did the sound for The Haunting, a horror movie. There was one room in that house, in The Haunting, that had a big organ in it, a pipe organ. And we played the lowest notes on the organ you could play, you know, just down there. And that became an element of it, and we just made it almost subliminal, but a lot of the times in that house, you just get this sense of unease because there's this low, unexplained rumble there the whole time. And it makes you nervous.
And we can see the band, quite a narrow band, around 15 hertz, considerably brighter than its surrounding areas. There is obviously clear infrasound in this room.
Definitely, at around 15 hertz.
15 hertz. A significant amount of infrasound.
Which is great because it ties in possibly with previous research that says the presence of infrasound might be causing some of the experiences here at Mary King's Close.
The findings did not surprise the pair. They know how easily infrasound can be generated. At Steve Parsons' home near Liverpool, he shows us how.
Hi, come through, it's just through here.
Steve has built an infrasound generator in his own front room.
This whole project was inspired by a single line in a book that said it was possible to build an infrasound generator out of a plastic drain pipe. From that idea, the project has just grown and grown and grown and grown and grown. The system uses a principle not dissimilar to an organ pipe. The actual sound is achieved by bass speakers. They then drive a column of air up and down the tube, and like an organ pipe, they cause the air inside the pipe to resonate. Parts of the structure of the house, picture frames, small ornaments, are moving because the actual structure of the house is now vibrating. The floors, we can feel the windows. In fact, we can even see the curtains are starting to dance about now. And this is because of the vibration effects of the low-frequency sound. The chest is vibrating, the vocal cords are vibrating. The eyeballs are vibrating, my body is vibrating, I can feel it coming up through my legs and feet. In fact, we're probably getting very close to the maximum exposure levels.
Understanding how infrasound is generated, Steve is able to look for the source of infrasound when its presence is confirmed at a haunted location. The Ghostbusters have been called to the shell of what was once a world-famous shipyard. Camel Laird's near Liverpool. The office building is now empty and disused, which is perhaps just as well, because there have been incidents.
I was having experiences that I hadn't had before. They were very unusual experiences. I feel like my ears are starting to pop and I started to get headaches and I started to feel quite uneasy.
I have nausea, I have headaches. On one occasion I actually felt, you know, the feeling of panic.
Several members of the staff were intimidated and did have trouble going to parts of the building alone. The staff reported shadows moving about. Other people reported making additional cups of coffee for people who they thought were up here on this floor, only to discover that they were in fact up here alone.
Yeah, we've got two bands of frequency, basically. There is definitely infrasound here. When you compare it to Mary King's Close, the level here is higher.
This is invisible to our ears, if that's the correct terminology.
Yes.
It doesn't exist, it's inaudible. Yes. And yet we can see this amount of energy that's entering this room and travelling along it and through it.
Exactly.
Bouncing off the surfaces.
Yeah. It's what makes it so exciting, is that people are having the reactions to the infrasound, but they can't attribute that reaction to anything other than being in an allegedly haunted environment.
Based on Steve's experience of creating infrasound, the simple idea of a large tube generating subsonic vibration strikes a chord.
We were here late at night and we discovered that people were seeing their own shadows projected onto walls as car headlights, cars coming out of the Mersey Tunnel, the lights were shining directly through the length of this building. That was the first hint that the Mersey Tunnel was pointed straight at us.
Could the tunnel carrying heavy traffic under the River Mersey be linked to the reported hauntings? Above the tunnel, giant towers house enormous fans which provide ventilation. Steve Parsons believes he's onto something. The massive fans create sound vibration. Vibration that resonates through the tunnel and is amplified by it.
Everything I've seen today offers me the strongest possible indications that the Mersey Tunnel is acting as a giant infrasound generator, effectively a 2.2 mile long organ tube. That energy is directed straight into this building, staring down the barrel of a gun of the Mersey Tunnel. And I think it's fair to assume that infrasound is the most likely explanation.
A haunted building, a tiger's roar, both shown to have effects on our feelings and physiology. And infrasound is the common factor.
Well, I ran the data analysis last night.
The brainwave test results are ready, and Liz is about to find out from psychologist Jennifer Vendemia if her theory is correct. If our brains are hardwired to fear infrasound, the silent threat of a predator.
We're looking at our participant's skull right now, and what we have here is the front of her scalp with her nose and her eyes, and this is the cap we used yesterday in the study with the electrodes, each electrode represented by one of these red dots.
The experiment reveals that the inaudible tiger infrasound demanded Rebecca's attention. Her brain switched on right away to the source.
The red bit right here is where she's being stimulated.
The silent threat posed by the tiger infrasound produced an immediate and dramatic change in the pattern of Rebecca's brainwaves.
She's really focusing on what this is, or trying to figure out what this is, even though she can't hear it.
Absolutely, that's what's going on.
So in other words, the tiger's roar is meaningful to her, even though she can't hear it, because it's a threat.
If a sound is of particular survival importance, then we'd expect all of the brain's attention to be orientated to it and to be a moment almost of complete focus. And I think that's part of what people are describing when they are subject to a big cat's roar.
And one particular part of Rebecca's brain showed a hyperreaction. The part which alerts us to threat.
Well, when you look to this posterior, this right posterior region, here's where we see all the activity, and that's this red area here. And this has to do with attention, a very special type of attention, the alerting network. And this is kind of your attention area, your fight or flight area.
She can't hear it, but she knows there's something very scary going on. This has to do with survival. I need to run away or hide or fight.
The experiment proves that humans are primed to respond to invisible danger. So why would this primeval instinct desert us? Why would the roar of a tiger make us freeze?